I want to preface this video in the first 30 seconds since I know most of you clicked for reinforcement of a specifically harmful opinion. This video will not be putting Jing Yuan as a best DPS in the game or the worst, since that is completely untrue and goes against the very nature of this video. This theorem is about the title of the video, plain and simple. If you still want to watch, sit back and enjoy, and please be civil. Hello, kings and queens and everyone in between. Honkaistarrail is a team-based game and I don't think there's any debate on that. Individually, a character may be strong in terms of scaling and stats, but once it put into scenarios where you need a full team, their restrictions become apparent that can make them worse and better than what their solo calculation and power level dictates. An S tier unit can stumble all the way to C tier if you can't effectively build a good team around them. The opposite scenario is also true. In the very active discussion of power creep, this can be forced by the dev's hand to happen. They can make a support for a specific archetype to push it to S tier, while the others stay in place and gradually recede over time, then switch to boosting another archetype to S tier and repeat the process. This is the formula Starrail maintains to slow down power creep as much as possible, through segmenting team archetypes and dividing their attention instead of high numbers for the sake of high numbers. So what is the Jing Yuan theorem? While every unit in the game is dependent on their team, there are extreme cases of how much a team or specific characters can push other characters to relevancy and irrelevancy, synergies and anti-synergies that are so pronounced that it creates a chain reaction in the meta. Everything from making good supports terrible, to making 4-star units match 5-star picks, and making old limited characters good, all because of the current various team restrictions and their power levels. The motto that I want everyone to know in their daily HSR gameplay is, good units can't carry bad teams, while good teams can carry bad units. And, well, since this is a gacha game, money carries all of them. You know, you get my point. This video will show examples that the unit's numbers and benefits can mean nothing or everything in the face of teammates. And without further ado, let's get on to the show. Yukong is a very strange character. By all means, it seems that she should be used more than she is due to her numbers, but anyone that digs deeper knows why that makes sense. While that amount of crit and attack to the entire party on a single harmony seems good, Yukong's eventual flaws make such a strong kit weaker in practice. Let's go over her restrictions as to why she's a more niche character. First, she does not like characters that take multiple actions to compensate for low multipliers. She wants very high multipliers in a single ability. Second, since her buffs come from skill, she needs better SP generators beside her or delay damage on the carry to generate SP. Third, Yukong abides to a very small window of speed, and teammates without a specific combo of speed may never ever see her buffs actually do anything. And fourth, due to the very nature of her damage rush profile, Yukong has many points of optimization that can make something go wrong. For teammates, it's about as easy to punish as forgetting the correct time to press her ultimate. Overall, she prefers specific characters' damage profiles, not exactly good in SP, relies on teammates having exact speed points, and to top it off, she's hard to play before E6. The amount of teammates she can make use of is low despite her seemingly strong buffs. For hyper carries that have a out of turn damage instance like Shui or Jing Yuan, it gets awkward and multiple DPS teams don't have a strict rhythm to abuse her buffs. For Su Shang, Zila or Jing Liu, their dynamic speed is hard to tune and tuning itself takes a lot of fuel. She's practically useless in Super Break as well, and being harder to play no matter who you choose may be just too much to handle. I'm not saying she's unusable though. If the stars align, Yukong has an extremely high potential, and those that fulfill every condition do amazing things with her. It's just that the lack of characters she has synergy with leads her to be rarely used despite her power. Teammates are everything for supports. Even if a kit's numbers looks very strong in general purpose, the amount of restriction put upon it reduces the amount of possible teams and can lead to the support to fizzle out and end up a niche pick for heavy min-maxers. There is a specific character in the game that is so strong yet specific that any semblance of meta picks are kicked out in favor of niche picks to use their power. This is the Ballad of Acheron. Typically, most teams don't even want to use a Nihility since harmonies are almost always better in crit setups. But Acheron's numbers are so good that even kicking out the harmony meta shifters like Robin and Ruan Mei provides incredible performances. In a specific case, Guinaifen and Pela, either as individuals or as a core, is never a meta pick when you have the strong harmonies. Acheron pushes these two units to be cheap clearers, and the shocking fact about it is that the other options aren't as drastically far behind because Nihility isn't as strong. Why is this a good thing? You can switch around characters to match weaknesses easier. If the enemy is fire immune but imaginary weak, using Welt will be a tiny difference. You can also reap his defensive benefits if it's more important. Since Nihility buffing is oftentimes so weak, this is extremely viable. Premium options aren't nearly as far behind because Acheron is the bow of your damage for non-P have content as a hyper carry, the Gui and Pela formula continues to work even if those two don't do any damage. And since Nihilities always do toughest damage, they don't suffer from normal hyper carry counter mechanics that punish non-attacking harmonies and reward attacking supports. Lastly, it frees up the other team. In practice for endgame, having both sides fight over the limited harmonies can result in one side having lopsided power, while the other side may be a miserable walk. Since Acheron's team structure uses more niche characters, the other side will almost never want to use any of her teammates and have free reign to use their limited harmonies. Both sides winning easily is a better prospect in more team building intensive content like Apocalyptic Shadow. Acheron's power being locked to a team structure is an obvious point to why teammates are everything. In Acheron's case, it's very extreme since slapping two of the best 5-star supports on her simply isn't as good as playing to her strength and settling with debuffers that are weaker in comparison, sometimes even 4 stars. This in turn elevates niche Nihility choices and provides a very different account structure and pull pattern that is beneficial for both the game and the player. Jing Yuan is a character that was designed to be at the very least decent throughout the entire game in the sense that he's balanced by what tools he has available. Lightning Lord's multipliers are no joke and numerically not many can stand up to it even today, but he is riddled with flaws in his kit that makes it very unwieldy. To give a brief overview of his flaws, he has unwieldy speed. He prefers to have a lot of turns to charge up, but Lightning Lord is at a fixed speed so you're still forced into backloaded damage, and you may end up so fast that you overcap. Second, crowd control. Like many hyper carries, it's very punishing to see him crowd controlled, but in his case it's a lot worse since Lightning Lord is just that slow. Third, the lack of utility. He is simply all damage, which is by far the easiest role to replace. With these flaws, it's easy to see why in the early days of HSR and even now he is sorely underestimated, because there isn't a lot of characters that can offset his mechanics, and other DPS options needed less work in exchange for less potential, like Blade and now Super Break. Even so, why does Jing Yuan still remain viable? Since his scaling has always been good and he has no excessively diluted stat profile, Jing Yuan can scale up to content with practically any crit-based buffer in terms of stats about as good, if not the best compared to others. Since literally almost any crit-based buffer just elevates him, he will continue to scale with new character releases and slow down power creep. Unlike say Acheron, who has a rigid team structure, Jing Yuan can make use of any supported path, which often leads to better buffing that lets him catch up in his own way. The other side of the equation is also true. Aside from Huohuo almost invalidating crowd control debuffs, there hasn't been a character that can fix Jing Yuan's Lightning Lord clunk. It's not guaranteed that they will, but the second that they inadvertently do, Jing Yuan continues to get stronger while the majority won't get anything from it, since their mechanics are already opened up. He's such an interesting character because his ceiling is very clear, but the devs are simply holding back unlocking too much of his power for the sake of everyone else. And for the health of the game, that's a very good thing. You don't want a 1.0 character to be too good all the time. The game goes through phases of favoring which team structure to go through. Unfortunately, the crit hyper carry that uses buffers that don't attack is in a downturn at the moment. Jing Yuan for now is a sleeping lion. Nevertheless, teammates are everything to be ageless. You can have very high scaling and a strong mechanic, but without supports covering up flaws, it is weak. You can be weak at the start, but new supports over time remove some of the weight and gets you back up again. In Jing Yuan's case, you can continuously live in a comfortable limbo of being a decent character if you don't have a kit that restricts the usage of strong buffers and outright scale with them. Anyway guys, I hope you liked this video. I'm sorry, I really did just have a writer's block, so this isn't any more impressive than my other videos, but next week I should have a topic that is worth discussing and a lot of you will watch for some reason. I don't know why you guys do that, but again, thank you. Do all the Irrelevancy stuff. I'll see you later. Bye bye.